saying I said it was okay to go buy that cheap shit because the thing needs to work when it needs to work. And if the difference between, I know I'm just throwing around numbers and figures here just to generalize, just but you get the point. Like, if the mean round count between failure for that $1,000 rifle is it'll go 2,000 rounds before it has a malfunction, and the $500 rifle goes 200 rounds before it has a malfunction, and you go shoot 200 rounds with that gun and that gun at the range in the same day, when you go to fire shot 201 and that's the bullet you needed to save your life and the gun is not doing what it's supposed to do, you're going to have a problem versus this gun that's just going to keep on trucking. So, and
yeah, so I guess we can go get started if y'all are ready, man.
yeah, hit me. We'll tackle it as it comes up.
Welcome to the Big Tech's Ordnance podcast. I'm Ike. Today I'm joined with, I guess we'll go with Frank for now.
Yeah, Frank.
Tom, and then Ian. So I guess we'll start with you, Frank. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, who Frank Woods is.
Yeah, Frank Woods. My pseudonym. I mean, this is my 6th time at SHOT Show. Every year, my real name, my agency is on my name tag. So if you've met me at SHOT Show, you know my name. It didn't stop like, some dipshit on the internet thought he got my goat. He's like, oh, I'm going to dox him and put his name and agency out there. And I'm like, yeah, dog, it ain't been a secret. Like, there's thousands of people at SHOT Show. This is the 6th time. But, Frank's a pseudonym I've been using. And not because I was worried about, like, the typical don't want work, follow me home follow me to work kind of stuff like that. But everybody in the industry, I usually talk to them on Facebook throughout the year, so they know that name more than my actual name. And the guys that do know my real name still call me Frank. I mean, me and this cat here, we were at the Chuck Pressburg Scott Jadlinski class back in September, and I was just saying to him, I was like, did you notice how Chuck and Scott were both alternating back and forth between calling me Frank and Paul? And I was just answering to both. And I've had guys ask me, like, which one do you go by? And I'm like, either one's fine, dude. It's okay. My own coworkers that see my last name on my nameplate and know my first name that I work with 5 days a week, some of them call me Frank because that's they see me on Facebook more often than they see me at work. So, I work in New York City in my PD patrol. Been doing that for 13 and a half years. And then that opened a lot of doors for me industry-wise in terms of like networking and stuff like that. And I've always been kind of an outlier as far as a New York gun owner goes. Back before the SAFE Act, we had New York State's gun law was like a clone of the assault weapons ban. And when the assault weapons ban expired in 2004, New York's did not. So back then, you could have a pre-ban lower receiver if it was a complete rifle before September '94. You could build that gun up with, at the time, you could only have 2 evil features. So if you had a protruding pistol grip and a detachable box magazine, you could have a muzzle brake, but you couldn't have a flash hider. You couldn't have a collapsible stock. You had to have a fixed stock. But it was like if you had a pre-ban lower, you could have all those things. So I don't think I've ever owned a New York compliant rifle in my life because my first rifle was built off of a pre-ban lower. And then the only thing the job really gave me at that point was a carry permit because pistol permits are like hard to get. So like just speaking like as a gun owner, like I had my reasons for taking the job and stuff like that. But it wasn't to enforce gun control or man a parking booth or any of the other weird shit people tend to say about me. Like I've heard traffic booth as an iteration, and I'm sitting there like, how the fuck do you enforce traffic from a booth like that? How the fuck does that even work? So yeah, I'm just one of the guys, like you call 911, I show up, I ask what your problem is, and that's my day job. But you've been a member of Tactics and Applications, our Facebook group, for a long time, and that started back in 2017, and then 4 years into that, so January 2021, the week that Biden was getting inaugurated, I don't know if you remember, but a lot of groups were getting waxed, just deleted wholesale. And that didn't happen, thankfully, to Tactics and Applications, but I was among those that I guess they set their algorithm to, like, if this person posted anything pro-Trump in the last 4 years, get them. So I couldn't comment, I couldn't click like on stuff, I couldn't post in my own group, we had to start going through Signal to talk to each other. So it like dawned on us. It was like we might need a fallback point that is not under the auspices of like Zuckerberg. So if it, if and social media is still a hostile place when it comes to our industry and stuff like that. So it's good to have somewhere that if they, if Zuckerberg got a wild hair up his ass and pulled the plug on us, we have a fallback point that we could gather and still talk about the stuff, but we could also archive all the stuff we've been talking about in tactics and applications, and that was what led me to purchasing Light Fighter. That happened in February 2021, and so once we had these two discussion outlets, you got like tactics and applications on the Facebook side, and then outside of social media, you had Light Fighter. And do you know the history of Light Fighter? Are you guys familiar with it at all?
I've been on there for a minute or two.
Okay, yeah. So for those that don't know in the audience, it's like it's at least 20 years old now, and it like back
Way
in
before my time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been a member longer, obviously, than I own the place, but I just was a lurker back then because
Yeah, I never posted.
that stay in your lane shit. I didn't I didn't start it, and I just shut up. That was like a read-only experience for me, especially when Pat was still there ruling the roost.
Yeah.
But for those unaware, back when before social media came into what it is now, as far as enabling discussion and stuff like that, when we had web forums, there were several places you could go, but if you had like ARFCOM general discussion, which is a fucking zoo, and then if you wanted to discuss the subject matter, but among people that actually knew what they were talking about because they use these products in a professional capacity, they do the training or they've gotten the training and stuff like that, Light Fighter was the place to do it where all that discussion was substantiated based on input and stuff like that. So the thing about both tactics and applications and Light Fighter is that they're both like invite only, kind of like vetted access. We were never about, well, I say we, I mean on the tactics and applications side. Light Fighter was always like this, but with tactics and applications, we were never like come one, come all in our approach, in the sense like you go to any Facebook group that is in multiple thousands of, like once you hit like 3,000 members and it goes up from there, the signal to noise ratio just goes out the fucking window. So it was always vetted access. So we have a lot of good discussion that's, a lot of good quality information from a lot of subject matter experts. You've been there for a minute. Anybody worth listening to is in tactics and applications.
Mm-hmm.
Like several members you've had on this show are all there. They all participate in discussion and stuff like that. But we didn't want to deprive the greater 2A community from that quality of information either. So TASKER Network was formed to start as, it's like a broadcast point. So we pull from the discussions that happen in tactics and applications and Light Fighter, and that's what generates content to put on the TASKER Network. And that's what you guys see on the TASKER Report, which is our in-house blog. And then the front page, we took like an MSNBC approach. So like if you've ever gone to msnbc.com and it's like you got politics here, media here, sports here, whatever, we were like, okay, let's do the same thing. So we got like 9 plugin feeds from all different, like Soldier Systems, Firearm Blog, whatever. It's like a one-stop shop for all your news and stuff like that. So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
oh yeah, man. I actually put a reminder up on, I think it was Monday. I said, hey guys, FYI, like if you're trying to follow the goings on at SHOT Show and you're not sure which site to keep tabs on, come to the front side of the TASKER Network and you could see everything. You got like 30 headlines because it's like 4 per outlet, and then it refreshes in real time every 30 minutes. So yeah, I'm here, but I've got business to take care of. I got people to talk to. I can't walk around taking pictures of new products and writing about stuff, but there are people here on the ground doing that, and you could follow what they're adding right here. And here you go. And one guy was like, this is great, man, thanks for doing this. And I was like, bro, it's been like that since day one, so you're welcome. Welcome. And TASKER Network as an entity with its 2 discussion hubs, it's lately it's kind of like the quality of it has kind of like shown itself in the sense of like, I don't know how many other Facebook groups you're in that discuss the subject matter, but like it's always been, even back in the forum days, it was always like you always had people that were like, I love this, like people would come in and be like, I'm in the market for whatever item, firearm, optic, light, whatever. And in a lot of cases, you get people that come in and be like, "Well, I really like this thing. I spent my money on. You should buy it too." And that would be like the limit of depth in their recommendation. And people want to know like, well, why do you like it so much? And then you start getting into like people that are like emotionally invested in what they purchased. So we don't do that. But since then, so that's always been a thing, even back in the forums. It's still a thing today, but now, like flex culture is a thing now.
Oh, God.
So you got like these fucking kids that are like college age, and they're like, they're fucking dick slapping each other and shit like that. Like, it's like women arguing over purses, and they're talking about. And I'm sorry, you guys got me on like my SHOT Show Day 3 voice. Like, you can hear how raspy I am. This isn't how I don't sound like fucking Lamb Chop, the sock puppet, all the time. That's just from talking to so many fucking people. But yeah, now you get these kids that are like fucking trying to one up each other about, well, what is the higher dollar amount of the item that you have? We'll have a flex off, and if you lose, you get silenced. And it's like, and you guys turn around and say, this is a group for learning. It's like, what are you guys focused on learning? Like, look, if you guys are focused on how much money you're spending on the thing, like, you're always going to beat me in that fight because I'm not going to pay as much money as you are for that shit because I'm cooler than you. No, it's not like that. But still, it's like in the if I were to use the phrase like wild space, like outside of these smaller controlled discussion areas, the quality of discussion is very absent. It's lacking. And I don't fault people for not knowing what they don't know, but it's when they dig their heels in and you're trying to like tell them like, not in like a actually kind of way, like that fucking meme or whatever the fuck, but you're like, no, there's other ways to look at this and there's other approaches to solving the same problem. And then you're getting called out and flex off because you disagreed with Resident King Dick on fucking whatever, and my helmet's more fucking expensive than yours, so you get muted. And I'm like, okay, like, sure. And then if I go into tactics and applications or I go into light fighter and I see like fact-based discussion happening in a civil manner among adults that carry guns for a living and like don't take themselves that seriously because we've got so much other shit we've been tempered by and stuff like that. It's like, I'm glad I put this place together so people, like if you want to learn about this stuff and not have to wade through the shit and conjecture, that's what we're here to do. That's why we're here. And I look at it in an approach of like, because let's go back to like the root, right? Like, what is the spirit of the Second Amendment? And we're all about that. We all support that. So it is to enable a defensive capability from the individual to the national level of the people itself, not the government doing it for them. So in a sense, I look at it like, all right, if I was putting together a private army, but they had to supply themselves because I don't have the money to buy standard issue stuff, what would I recommend them to spend their money on? Not just in terms of the weapons and the stuff that goes, like guns, gear, training, like they're all investing in themselves and their defensive skills and capabilities and stuff. And I want them, like, I won't sign off on something that's lesser quality. Like the first question I'll ask is like, what's your budget? Because that'll inform me of what the reason, like the quality options are. I'm not going to sign off on recommending some cheap shit just so you can have something. Like, not on my conscience, no, because you're going to trust your life to this thing. It needs to work when it needs to work.
That's what I've always asked people, between like people hitting me up on Instagram or working at the range, and it's like, hey, what do you recommend? What can you afford? Like, because there's the low, the medium, and the high, and if you can't afford the high, there's some decent middle or lower options that are still good. Like the Streamlight rifle light is still a decent light. Is the mod light better? Yeah, but if you can't afford that, the Streamlight's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
you're not signing off on an O-light just because.
Yeah, like I'm going to recommend the Streamlight, over a fucking O-light any day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, one of my more infamous rants is like the whole "fuck Chinesium" rant that you guys are well aware of. And actually, one of my buddies, I'm not going to say who he is or what company, but somebody who's well known as an instructor and for a very respectable company who I had a meeting with earlier today was like, dude, it's fucking awesome that you've never fucking backed down on that whole fuck Chinesium thing. Like, keep that fucking fire, because the way people approach that whole argument is so fucked. And, like, yeah, you're aggressive with it, but it's also an informed approach, and it makes sense. So good on you for, like, you know, keeping it up. And I'm like, thanks, man. I need to hear stuff like that sometimes. But, like, yeah, at work, everybody knows. Like, if you're dabbling, and if you're starting to get interested in buying an AR-15 or something, you know, go talk to Paul. He knows who to talk to or where to direct you and stuff like that. So I wrote a really long form article. It's on the TASKER report. It's called Inspired Rifle Configurations for Regular Guys. And that word inspired came into like CRA off topic when like, because if you were like, I have a Mark 18, and it's like, it's not a Mark 18 in form. It's just a short barrel rifle. It's like, all right. He's calling it a Mark 18 because the only term he knows to associate a short-barreled fighting weapon with is the Mark 18. But that, you know, a short-barrel rifle does not a Mark 18 make. There's certain, you know, accessory criteria and stuff that goes into it. So, you know, I borrowed the word inspired from there. And what I did was I type categorized in like the whole AR platform, whether it was standard frame or large frame. And I type categorized it into 8 different configuration categories. So it was like based on what the rifle is versus what you need it to do. And if it's in this configuration, here it is. And the reason I wrote that article is because when I get guys that, and not just coworkers, but people all over the internet hit me up all the time asking for recommendations and stuff like that. And I'll be like, you know, I'm like that efficient version of lazy, where it's like if I could streamline this and get us to the good stuff faster, okay. So now instead of going through hours of typing on my phone, I drop a link on them. I say, read this, find the category configuration that most closely resembles what you want to do, and then come back. So they read the whole thing and they have a better understanding and everything. And what surprised me with that article is I had a friend at another very noteworthy firearms company, and he's like, dude, I was sitting here, I was reading this article, and I was like, this sounds like something Frank would write. And I scroll up to the top, and lo and behold, what do I see? Arthur Frank Woods. And he's like, that thing was so good, I have like made all of my customer service people read your article. Like, it is required reading for them, because not everyone that works for this company is into it like we are. For some people, it's just a job. So when they get calls at customer service talking about, you know, people are asking, hey, I want to do this, which of your products should I buy to facilitate that end result? You know, some customer service people are like, I don't, let me get back to you on that. Hold on, let me go ask. Now they have like, apparently they have like a printed copy of this article at their desk, so they could just, okay, you want this because our product matches this description. Like, this is what you want. And I was like, you really do that? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know I'm writing the fucking the policy book for. I'm writing the TTPs for a multi-million-dollar firearms company's customer service team. That's cool. But when they're done reading that article, the next big question is, what's your budget? Because that's going to inform all. That's going to narrow down the options. Mm-hmm. And I tell guys at work, especially, because ain't no secret, cops are fucking cheap. They hate fucking paying for shit. Some of them are less honorable about it than others. They'll just ask for the discount right out the gate, and it's like, dude, you're making us look bad when you do that. Like, come on, dude. There's more elegant ways to be a savvy shopper. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to, like, if you see that, like, enter discount code here before you, that, like, coupon code caption box before you check out, there's probably a code to put in there. You just got to know the right people to ask to get the damn thing. It's out there. Just don't be, like, so bold-faced about it. But I say, look, I'm sure at this point you've done some window shopping where you've perused the Google Oracle and you have found an AR-15 that's $500 and one that looks exactly like it that costs $1,000. And we'll go with like what I call the basic bitch configuration, like a Colt 6920, right? Like, if it's all you had, you'd be fine, but there's plenty of room for improvement. But it requires you to have like armorer's tool knowledge and stuff, because now you're taking the whole gun apart and installing like a free float rail on it and so on, or you're changing out the guts to put a better trigger pack in, and or well, the bolt carrier, it's kind of just like plug and play, but you get the idea. Yeah. Like, so yeah, two guns look like a 6920. One's 500, one's 1,000. And I'm sure you're sitting there asking yourself, why would I pay twice as much for the same thing? And I say, that's the thing, is that you don't understand, because you're new to this, is that there's things going on under the hood that you can't see in that picture. You can't see it without like tools and stuff to like spec gauge the thing and make sure it's all made to spec and stuff.
Cutting the barrel and seeing what steel it is.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's like the manufacturer's got to cut certain corners to get the price down that low. You're not getting the same thing for less money.
Colt's just not making an extra $500.
Yeah, it's not like they're like, you know what, let's make the DPMS, we'll just charge extra money for it because we're Colt. Some people would argue, like, are you paying for the roll mark? And it's like, shut up, get the fuck out of here. There's more to it than just the roll mark, whatever. But I tell them, I said, look, I don't mind helping you. I don't mind giving you my time and making myself available to you to help guide you through this. But you're also not going to waste my time. So I'm going to ask you to do two things. Number one, well, no. I'm going to ask you to do one thing, and that's before you spend a red cent on anything, run it past me first, and I'm going to be the one that advises you whether or not that's a good thing to buy. Because I'm doing two things. I'm protecting your money, because if you buy some cheap shit that breaks easily and then you're going to buy another one to replace it and it's going to break easily and you're going to buy another. So by the time you've replaced it 2 or 3 times, you might as well have bought like the high dollar item to begin with. And I'm protecting your life by doing that, because I'm not on my conscience going to let you walk away and saying I said it was okay to go buy that cheap shit, because the thing needs to work when it needs to work. And if the difference between, I know I'm just throwing around numbers and figures here just to generalize, but you get the point. Like, if the mean round count between failure for that $1,000 rifle is it'll go 2,000 rounds before it has a malfunction, and the $500 rifle goes 200 rounds before it has a malfunction, and you go shoot 200 rounds with that gun and that gun at the range in the same day, when you go to fire shot 201 and that's the bullet you needed to save your life, and the gun is not doing what it's supposed to do, you're going to have a problem, versus this gun that's just going to keep on trucking. So, and I go into that and I get passionate about it because I care. I give a shit. Like these people asking me to help them spend their money on something they're going to trust their life with. So yeah. I have a responsibility as someone who has nerded out and gotten into the weeds and knows as much as I do. And if it's something I don't know, and that's the beauty, that's why we went with the name TASKER Network, because I had someone challenge me once. Like the whole vet your sources thing came up, and they're like, "Well, okay, I love that vet your sources thing. What kind of source are you?" Like, what? And I'm like, "Bro, man, I'm like, if I don't know, I know someone who does."
Yeah.
And I've never been above revisiting my mentors to ask them, "Am I wrong?" So I might not quote them on it, because I'm not going to drag their name into it, because a lot of people do what I call, they play Daddy Said,
yeah,
which is like, we could be arguing about something and they'll be like, "Oh, Aaron Cowan said," and I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I know. I heard it the first time when he said it. I could call Aaron right now and ask him how he's doing. You ain't telling me shit I ain't heard before, bro. Like, I know. Like,
it's just parody.
Do you exactly, like, do you have anything original, like, in terms of experience or anything, or are you just quoting something you read or heard on the internet? I mean, to your credit, you might be listening to the right guy, but if it's somebody we've all heard the same input from before, it's like, well, okay, what else do you got?
A lot of times they say it, they're just parodying, like I said, but they don't understand the context of it.
Exactly.
And it's just, they're just repeating what
they're just
heard.
Like trying to shoehorn it into, that's why, like, I have a thing, I haven't really spoken on it, but I have a list of what I call the unacceptable answers. And that's, it works for me, it's just as good, to each his own, and what's the fourth one? I don't want to look it up on my phone. Hold on a minute. It's just as good. It works for me. To each his own. And what's the other annoying one that I always hear? It suits my needs. And an alternative to it works for me that I've seen more recently is my use case. I think you might remember I like went on a rant about I said, like, use case is the new way of saying like just as good or it works for me. And some of the industry people that like had a legitimate use of that terminology. I think I remember like Dwayne Liptak from Magpul kicked in and was like, well, we use the terminology use case to define. And I'm like, see, but you're using it in the proper context. These kids are like, my use case is da, da, da. And I'm like, you don't have a fucking use case, bro. Stop it. Like, that's why I say like it suits my needs is on that list because it's like, we got to be honest with ourselves, right? Like, if you had a need, it would have been fucking issued to you, okay? You have wants, which is fine. It's in your right. You want to buy the gun. You want to buy the thing that attaches to it. You want to go to the training. Like the phrase LARPing, I hate that shit. And when my coworkers, or I shouldn't say my coworkers because I don't work with these people, but like when other people in the LE field or just even friends of mine are talking and they use that, I'll put my foot down and be like, I don't entertain that. I don't use that phrase. And I get shit from other cops. And like, it's funny because it blows my mind. It's like people like knocking me. It's like all you have to do is wear the uniform these days and you're the bad guy as far as being a cop. Like that's just how society has evolved in the last 10 years since shit really fucking hit the fan in that regard. But the fratricide that comes into play when you've got like cops going against cops and they're like, you're a fucking like I've been told this before, like by feds and other cops. It's like you wear soft armor and carry a pistol at work. Why are you going to Darcy wearing a helmet and a plate carrier and using a carbine to do CQB? And I'm like, dude, the carbine and the helmet and the plate carrier they're just required equipment. You have to have it to take the class. And plus, why do I buy it? Not because I'm trying to play commando or be somebody cool or some shit. It's because I don't like mooching off people and borrowing shit because that distracts me from that distracts me from like the lesson plan because now I'm worried like I hope I don't break this person's shit and get them all pissed off and stuff like that. Whereas if I break my own stuff, it's like, okay, I probably know somebody at the company that made this. I just make a phone call and be like, can you help me out? And I'll get it fixed and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's like, dude, CQB training is about the dance moves. It's not about the outfit. You know what I mean? Like, you could do everything they teach you at Darcy with soft armor and a pistol. And I'm going in and out of buildings all the time on patrol. I remember, and I have like military vet coworkers that see the way I move through a building and they're like, who taught you that? Because the job didn't teach you that. Where did you learn that? And I'm like, I go to extracurricular training on my own time out of pocket. And there are times when we're all together on a scene and we like, oh, okay, robbery suspect ran into that building and it's like a construction site. That was one incident. So 6 to 8 floors of a like it's all concrete and shit, but we had to go clear this building. The military guy looks at me and goes, "You're with me." I'm like, okay, that's him telling me you know your shit and I feel comfortable working with you. And what am I using? Soft armor and a pistol. It's not like, oh wait, sorry, bro. Like I don't have my LARPer gear with me, so I'm not qualified to use these TTPs anymore. Sorry, bro.
Or even like on the civilian side. I mean, how many structures are you in on a given day as a civilian, as a CCW? You know, I mean, like if you have to find your way out of a building or an active shooter situation, knowing how to move through a building is not a bad task.
Yeah, and really, you're just exploiting angles and negotiating cover and concealment and stuff like that.
It all transfers over. You don't have to be in a plate carrier and a helmet and a.
Yeah, and I tell people like
self-awareness for sure.
If you're an armed citizen and it's beyond plinking and shooting at paper and steel and stuff like that, you, in my opinion, are because of the spirit and the intent of the Second Amendment. If you are fighting, military age man or woman, I don't care, I don't discriminate, but this is even in U.S. code, in the U.S. Constitution, right? So I think it's between the ages of 17 and 45. You own this stuff, you're into it, you're obligated to have or maintain what I call a minimum readiness level, which is to say, you have a carbine, you have some kind of load-bearing equipment to carry reloads for that carbine. Perhaps you have if you can, because I know not everywhere is friendly with pistols, but you have a belt with a pistol, so you have yourself a secondary, or you carry more. I don't think you're going to need that. Like, you could carry more mags for your rifle if a pistol isn't an option, but you have all this stuff and the training to use it effectively as an extension of yourself, because that's what we were at one point in this country. I mean, the gear wasn't as cool as it is now and shit like that. But the intent, the end state of the populace's readiness level we didn't, thankfully, and hopefully never, it hasn't been codified away. Like, it hasn't been via legislation, it hasn't been done away with. So if you're in it, like, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk too. So I tell people, yeah, no, you got to go to CQB training. You got to get, like, and SUT became a popular phrase that got thrown around over the summer. Some people were using it interchangeably with CQB to refer to CQB, but like CQB is a piece of the SUT puzzle. And like I said, if I don't know the answer to the question, I know people who do. So all the content that I'm putting out on Tasker Network on the Instagram page and what have you, I have like a panel of people who do or did this stuff for a living very recently that as I'm writing it out, as I understand it, I'm going to them saying, does this make sense? Is it factual? And we could speak the same language in terms of doctrinal stuff like that, but now I have to translate it into layman's terms so that it's easier for them to grasp. In doing so, have I kept it factual and to the same point and avoided changing the context or the meaning or whatever? So going back to the guy that's like, oh, well, what's your, like, let's vet you as a source. It's like, dude, I got the Rolodex full of sources, man. It's no problem. They don't want to be quoted all the time because they don't want to get dragged into stupid internet slap fights and stuff like that. But I do my due diligence to make sure the information I'm presenting isn't just me going off the cuff based off of my limited understanding of something based on something I read or watched in a video, which is what a lot of people tend to do. So
what's the demographic of the people that reach out to you for like a build or wanting to have, a certain setup? Like what's your demographic that you're dealing with when people are like, hey, you know what, Frank, what's,
like
for a pistol, for an AR build, this is what it, because you talked about like, you wanted, like people come to you, talk to you about like, what's your budget for
yeah.
a rifle per
Yeah.
se?
So
Is it LE guys? Is it pretty much anybody?
it's
who
it's
reaches out?
anybody.
Okay.
It's coworkers, so law enforcement, all coworkers, and guys on the internet. I've had younger military guys that are like, hey, you seem to know your way around like gear and stuff like that. I'm trying to buy stuff like for personal stuff, not what I'm issued at work. What's like, help me navigate the market is basically what it comes down to. Guys, girls, civilian, law enforcement, military,
Anybody,
anybody, and I'm open to anybody. Like, as long as you're not a fucking communist. In that case, go fuck yourself. Like any fucking variety of communist, fuck you, to include socialism. So anyway,
You don't like Big Red, then fuck you.
yeah,
Yeah.
better dead than red, as they say. But what were we talking about before that?
Goddamn commies.
Yeah, fucking commies ruin everything. Fuck. Oh yeah, I remember now. So yeah, I'll tell people like, yeah, it's not enough to just buy the shit. You got to go get the training to use it effectively. And once you're done with your square range, we call it FAMFire, like teaches you how to use the shit. Now you got to learn how to use the shit in a dynamic setting where you're moving through structures and stuff like that. And that's what I was saying was like, people say SUT, but they're referring to CQB, and it's like, no. SUT refers to like all the battle drills, of which CQB is just battle drill 6. Battle drill 1, 1A, like some of those require like a squad, so that's up to 9 people to effectively do that. How many people know 8 other people that have the same amount of guns, gear, and training that they could collectively come together and do that? Not a lot. So that needs to be accounted for in who I'm talking to in the audience. But all the same, I'll never tell them, you can't go. You shouldn't go. This should only be law enforcement military. There are a couple of people that liked to say that I was alleging as much. But what I was saying was there's certain training. There's a difference between didactic knowledge and kinesthetic knowledge, where didactic knowledge is like I can communicate a concept to you, whether it's we're talking, writing, a video, and you can act on that information to achieve a desirable end result. Then there's kinesthetic, And the closest, when it comes to like CQB and stuff like that, I like to use dancing. I don't dance for shit, so don't get any ideas. But it's like, are you going to learn how to dance better by looking at a book with drawings of footsteps and dotted lines telling, like, it looks like a fucking, what is that, Twister or some shit like that? You know what I mean? Like, is that going to teach you how to dance? Or is someone that knows how to dance standing right in front of you, they show you the movement, you try to mimic it, and maybe you get it right, maybe you fuck up, and they like move you and pose you. So now you've seen them do it the right way, but now they're helping you, like, you know what right looks like, but now you got to know what right
It's the flow.
feels like.
It's the flow of of everything.
So now that they show you how to do it, and then once you know how it feels to do it the right way, now you keep repeating it, and when that person tells you keep doing that, you're doing it right. That's like, you need that for CQB. And I made some remarks about people that were using CQB Killhouse footage as marketing material, and I was like, listen, you're fucking over the audience, because you're giving them the idea that they can learn all that they need to know based off of watching these little clips. Because I know that that's not me misinterpreting shit. There are people that actually argued, I don't have the money to go to these classes, and that's the most I can get. And it's like, do you have more than one AR? Okay, then you have the money to go to a fucking class, even if you have to travel. Like, the money you'd put into decking out a second rifle to include the gun, the optic, the light, and everything else you'd attach to it, there's your training tuition right there. Like, you hear people all the time say, I'd rather buy more ammo in training than another gun. It's like, okay, those guys are on point when it comes to that, especially. And I'm not saying that it's like universal or absolute, but that's the right idea to have. So my beef with the whole CQB Killhouse footage as marketing material was like, so you got these people that think that the videos are showing them all they need to know, and they don't have to go to class. They're going to get themselves or someone else hurt, because these little clips and videos are not a whole lesson plan, so the interconnectivity between what you're seeing isn't there. The other risk, too, isn't so much because people were like, oh, you're afraid that we're showing people classified information, and it's like, no, but you are showing the bad guys how you're going to come at them and giving them a sense of how to anticipate your entry and booby traps and shit like that. And you start reading about like warrant teams and the shit that they run into and like trap houses and shit like that, and like you hear about this stuff happening. So it's like you're doing the audience a disservice in multiple ways. And then on top of that, there's the whole didactic versus kinesthetic learning thing. So it's like the elephant in the room. I haven't even written about this yet, but while we're on the topic, we might as well. The elephant in the room that nobody wants to address, right? And I need you guys to all understand that what I'm about to say is not because I fucking think this way. I'm red teaming it for you. I'm going to tell you how they come at you, right? So, Second Amendment, right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay, well-regulated militia, blah, 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 right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I could argue that well-regulated means standardized equipment and training, right? Everybody's on the same page. Care has been taken to make sure the functional efficacy is there at the end of the day. But just black and white, going by what is written in the amendment, doesn't say shit about training, right? You can keep and bear arms. It doesn't, by text, protect your right to get training. It's the same way how guys are like, oh, suppressors, so-and-so, yada, yada, yada. It's a firearms attachment or component. And it's like, I agree with you. I think the implication is there that it covers all the ancillary and connected stuff, but as it's written, it doesn't. So the elephant in the room that nobody thinks about is what happens when we get an active shooter incident, right? And the guy goes and shoots a place up, but we get him alive. And he's on the court stand, and somebody asks him, where did you learn how to do what you did? Well, I learned it on Instructor X's Instagram page and all the video footage that he puts out. Does anyone here think the industry is ready to deal with that, or that instructor is ready to deal with that? Because what's going to happen is the government's going to look and go, The Second Amendment doesn't say anything about training. So then,
I could see it becoming like an ITAR thing.
yeah, they're gonna ban
Like ITAR, you're not
yeah.
allowed to train foreign.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. And they'll say if you're not government or military, you don't get to do this training. And the whole training industry is going to collapse because all their insurance policies cover like injuries and accidents and stuff like that. None of them cover that shit. So you're going to see
Interesting point.
you're going to see guys
I've never even.
you're going to see guys' insurance policies getting pulled out from under them because the insurance companies could be like, we don't want nothing to do with that. And nobody wants to think about that because it's, it would suck for it to happen.
Nightmare.
Yeah. But I've talked to instructors about this, and as I'm ranting and telling them this, so it's like, okay, I know I'm not fucking crazy. I see it. I just haven't.
But a person who would be doing that, I don't think would have a pretty solid following. So I don't think the industry has too much to worry about.
Oh, they're out there.
But again, like I'm not in that niche. I'm not on the social platforms like most people are, just because there's so much garbage out there.
Oh God.
Because I just don't care to.
And
be
the
a
one
part of
thing,
that shit.
I'm sorry to cut you off. The one thing I want to add to clarify is that I'm not fingering I'm not pointing the finger at anyone saying you assist an active shooter doing something like that by doing what you're doing. But at the same time, you can't prove that you did not. Like, there's no way for them to say that guy didn't watch my footage and read it backwards, if you will, and take cues from it and then use it effectively to hurt people. They can't disprove that. They don't have, like, metrics on Instagram that show you who watched what, how many times, who they showed it to just by showing the phone to somebody, stuff like that. So I'm not saying people shouldn't get this training. I'm saying the way that certain training has to be done in person. And when I was new to the game, there was an understanding that, because think about it, the GWAT was going on in the mid, what was it, like 2007, 2008, when I really started getting into this stuff. So it was like a universal understanding that, like, you did not open air that stuff because you did not want the bad guys to see how you were going to come at them. That remains today, but because the domestic political environment has so changed since then, and we're always playing defense, it's just something you have to think. Second and third order effects, stuff like that, consequences of, they'd say a good way of putting it is like, freedom comes with responsibility. You have to have the responsibility of when to exercise it the right way in the right setting. So that's, again, not to say people shouldn't have access to this stuff. They absolutely should. I think they absolutely are obligated to go if they're serious about it. But they have to go learn it in the right setting, and that information has to be kept in those settings in order for us to be able to continue accessing it. Otherwise, you run the risk of people going to get themselves hurt thinking they know what they don't know because they're trying to emulate something they saw in the video, and they're not getting the whole story and stuff like that. So I'm really passionate about enabling the armed citizen in the right way to a standard. And that standard comes from White Fighter. And that, like I said, it was a read-only thing, but I got it. And I bounced this off of people that are way more qualified than me. Like, I've heard people say that I say the things I say because I'm jealous that people can shoot better than me. And I'm like, if that was true, I would not have friends that were better. Like, every industry mentor I have is a better. Remember I said in the beginning, I have the fortitude to revisit my mentors and ask them if they're wrong. They're my mentors because they do the thing better than I can. Yeah. And so if the criteria was you do it better than me, so fuck you, I wouldn't have a lot of people to talk to. So that's not the case. So and I ask them all the time, like, am I out of bounds on this? And they're like, no, you're absolutely correct. Just nobody's comfortable talking about it and saying it. So good on you for being the one to call out the elephant in the room. But if you guys have any questions, I feel like I've been talking a lot, which, I mean, yeah, New Yorkers, we do that. But, yeah, if you guys got any questions for me, man, go for it.
That's a two different side of New Yorkers here.
Yeah, like that's everybody thinks like this is fucking New York,
and
that's New York. This is upstate. Like
anything north of the Bronx, we consider upstate.
Yeah, like it's. I'm basically Canada.
Yeah, of
Frank's
course,
New
man.
York. Like
yeah.
I'm born and raised Long Island. I just work in the city. My parents are from the city, and they.
I mean, Long Island still. I mean, I have a buddy from Long Island, and he lives in Buffalo now, but still has his accent, and it's still.
Is it a different accent up in Buffalo?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was from Buffalo.
Yeah,
I'm thinking if you're rolling with Big Tex, you must be from Texas.
No, I'm born and raised in Buffalo, New York. I've only been in Texas for 5 years now, so. I mean, I probably have lost my accent a little bit, but I've never.
You've got, to my ear, you've got what I call a newscaster accent, which is like there's no detectable accent. Every word is perfectly pronounced.
Oh, my wife would say otherwise.
Well, I mean,
Well, the wives always say otherwise.
Yeah.
Man.
one of my ex-girlfriends was from Texas, and she had what I called she's a Mexican girl from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and she did not have a lick of like Mexican or Texan accent to her at all. But she was living with me. She's like, what does it feel like? Like, I like your New York accent. I'm like, excuse me, you are in Rome. I do not have an accent here. You sound weird, not me.
It's funny. I went downstairs this morning and grabbed a breakfast sandwich, and there's a dude wearing a Bills T-shirt, and I get to talk with him. He's from Buffalo, lives in Buffalo. And, yeah, you're chit-chatting.
Yeah.
And like, I hear after being out of Buffalo, like I hear it and I'm like, oh, I know where that guy's from. Like, even if he wasn't wearing, a Bills T-shirt, I'd be like, that guy's from upstate New York. Like, he's from Buffalo somewhere or whatever. Could be Rochester, but it's like that guy's talking funny. Tommy, what do you got?
What do I got?
What do you? Who's Tommy?
Who's Tommy? Well, I'm Tommy. I'm with Northstar Tactical. I'm the owner of Northstar Tactical. I specialize in high-end firearms on the 19, 2011 platform, and as well as ARs, AK. I like to deal with the Gucci shit. IQ, kind of steamroll me, into it, and as well as I'm gonna throw them out there because this is my little thing for here. But shout out to LS Dub for kind of getting me into the industry and getting me connected with. Everybody that I've come in contact over the last couple years. So, I'm new. I'm a rook to the firearms industry, but in less than 2 years, I just made it over the 700-hour mark of training with what I think most people consider well vetted, instructors in the industry and whatnot. So. Prior to that, I was in real estate, but sold my company and wanted to kind of do something that I was super passionate about, and saw that margins were good, and there was just a huge influx in our country for civil protection. So I wanted to go ahead and inform myself with that information, and I thought that the best way to do that was just literally go ahead and train and become proficient. My motto that I go about is I want to be, the pistol is the modern day dagger. The AR is the modern day sword. And I want to be King Arthur with Merlin mentality. Nice. So that's my motto going into each course, to be able to go ahead and do what I can do the best. All the stuff that it is that I have in my shop is stuff that it is that, I find to be tried and true, things that, I would, go ahead and, put my life as well as, my kids and my wife along the lines too. So being, I kind of take Mark Smith's antic on that, is that, when I had my kids, I was like, I need to be able to go ahead and protect them, and I want to be able to do it in a very proficient, knowledgeable way. So that's pretty much kind of where it is that, kind of I came in. It's my second year at SHOT Show. The guys that it is that I've met throughout the industry, both instructor-wise as well as, vendors, things along those lines. It's just been just a really good community. I see things on the exact opposite side of you, because I'm pretty good at vetting out bullshit. And I don't have time for garbage. I'm a very authentic, genuine person, and I gravitate towards those things. So all of the hoopla and
and whatnot that I've kind of heard in the industry of, a bunch of, buffed out beefcakes that are 6'4", ready to go ahead and, pound their chest and go in, but they kind of act like mean girls. I was just like, I remember telling my wife about that, and she was like, I can't believe that, you're having some grown-ass men with long beards and,
I was just
tatted
saying-
out and shit.
I was just saying to one of the other Light Fighter mods the other day, like I sent him a screenshot of a verbal, or whatever, written altercation I was having with like a long time Light Fighter member, and he was coming at me like kind of cunty, and I was like, why do grown men that fucking carry guns for a living act like this towards each other? I don't. It escapes me. And last night at the Circle Bar, I was telling Don Edwards and Sam Houston and a couple of other people, like, I got a friend that moved from Long Island to Texas, and I said to him, Nick, tell me if you're grappling with this, because I know I would if I was in your shoes, and that is. And when I say Southern guys, I'm not necessarily talking about everybody south of New York, but like, yeah. Well, as I lay this out, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But not you guys is basically what I'm trying to say. But
Goose guys.
yeah, no, that's a Jersey thing. We don't
Guys over there.
We don't do that. I actually say y'all, which is out of character, but whatever.
One of yous.
Yeah, one of yous. There you go. So I said, it always perplexes me how dudes in the South are more concerned with the propriety of their image to the point that they will not get into profanity. They'll come up with these like cutesy, like coded ways of saying shit. Perfect example, textbook example is bless your heart, right? Sounds like a compliment, really saying you're a fucking idiot, right? So
Go fuck yourself.
yeah, exactly. So, like,
Bless your heart, but go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Bless your heart.
yeah. So I was like, tell me, like, have you ever been in a bar and like some guy is standing with his friends or whatever the fuck, and he'll say some dumb shit like, "There's a guy whose laces are too short for his boots," and then like they'll be like, and you're standing there like, the fuck is that supposed to mean, bro? Like, just tell me to go fuck myself. I had more respect for you at that point. Like, you guys get at each other like.
That's definitely the New York in you, because
Yeah.
y'all are blunt, man. It's just like, you know what? Fuck you. I don't got time for this shit. Peace.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Instead, so you got that Southern comfort, and
Yeah.
being from the Midwest, where I'm from, Minnesota, we have the passive aggressiveness.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh yeah, hi, that's a good dude over there. No, fuck you, man. How's it going over there, buddy? Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, fuck you too. It's one of those things, man. It's crazy just to see, geographically those things, and definitely on the East Coast, man. It's no bullshit.
I'm like,
No bullshit.
the guys get at each other like the girls do up where I'm from. Like, I'd expect that Mean Girls fucking Real Housewives bullshit from
man.
our women, but then when the guys come at me like that, I'm like, is this really happening right now? Like, you carry a fucking gun for a living, and you're supposed to be like this meat-eating tough motherfucker, and you can't even use curse words because you're worried you're going to look bad. Like, I'm still judging you, by the way. You're still a fucking dick. It's just you went through a couple of extra steps to do it. Not you. Like, I know I'm gesturing at you. But
No.
You're cool.
It's the long hair, man.
Yeah. Long hair, don't care, gang.
I've gotten to know you for the last couple of years since we've met, and you've taken a fuck ton of classes.
Yeah.
I'm all over the place.
Like,
I mean, people looking at me on this squad, man. They might not know the name, but they've definitely seen my face. All the people's at me. I'm Jason
you walked in
Momoa.
and you're like, all right, here you go.
Maui.
Pressburg and Jadlinski.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's the cool thing about being able to go to these courses is when you go and you sign up for those types of things, you're with other like-minded individuals, and that's the thing that I've gotten from it. I was talking to somebody downstairs the other day. Like, I love to play golf, man, and sometimes it's just like, I don't got a crew to go out with. Not a lot of people are just like, hey, I got 4 hours to go ahead and burn, and they want to get up at the butt crack of dawn. But for me, it's like, I'll go ahead, I'll shoot the shit with anybody, and I've never been in a round of a foursome and just been like, fuck it. And that's the same with going to these classes and being with these guys, and then the instructors just being able to really have a nice wrap on their students to be able to go ahead and tailor things to people's current status of their capabilities, and then bring them up. That's just a really wonderful thing that I kind of being in the industry, and going through that and testing and bringing out like my firearms, my guns, biggest like my biggest manufacturer that I deal with is Nighthawk. So shout out Chris Mala and Mark, the owner over there, man. Those guys are fantastic dudes. And for me, getting into the business, man, it was I consider myself more of a boutique, if you will. And I want people to go ahead and come to me. I'm here for a resource. I'm not here for a sale. I'm here for the relationship. I'm here to go ahead and make things, go along the lines. Whether it's you have the money to go ahead and huck out 5 to 8 grand for a firearm on the 2011, 1911 side, or you're going on for Q and nights and things along those lines, hucking out 25 to 3,500 bucks for a firearm or an AR in that sense. And like I'm totally down all the time to just go ahead and shoot the shit with people and inform them on what it is. With me, fortunately, like I don't have to vet like a budget per se. When they come to me, they know that I have that good. So, and that's kind of how I've always been. There's a reason on why I think that there are good things in the industry, and I think it goes all across the board, is because they've been able to go ahead and perfect that platform and have it be a reliable source. In particular, we're talking about firearms, man. People's lives depend on it. Kids lives. Your team guys. Things along the lines on the force. And shout out to you, man, for protecting and serving the community, man, especially in New York, bro.
Thank you.
That shit's got to be tough. So I have just tons and love and respect for people that go out and do what it is to give guys like myself, yourself, the ability to just go ahead and be more well-versed if something needed to happen, and there was a situation that presented at a Target, a Walmart, that you were able to go ahead and have the mindset to go ahead and say, hey, I'm not going to come in and be a hero. What is my surrounding around that? I'm not just going to go ahead and let little kids get murked by no means, but I have the mentality of, hey, this stuff is presenting itself.
Someone's gonna get that gas.
Yeah. Someone's just gonna be, peace out. Like, the Uvalde shit. Like, man, I would have been. Those are my kids. I mean, you being a father of 3. I got my 3rd on the way. Fuck, dude, I'd be in there in fucking 2 seconds. Yo, arrest me afterwards. I'm about to go murk this motherfucker. And I don't give 2 shits. I'll see you in court. But my kid and no kid is life is getting taken care of because nobody's got time for that shit, and nobody should ever have time for that shit. So
that's why the catchphrase or the slogan for Tasker Network is for those who would. And it doesn't specify whether you wear a uniform or do it
most definitely
or not. It's for those who would.
Yeah. And I mean, you see it. I think Bill kind of put it. Bill Blauer, shout out to you, Billy. He him talking about being a part in the squad guy. There's some guys that go in there and they go in for a good purpose. They want to protect and serve. But when shit kind of comes down for kind of being able to pull out the gun and use that weapon the way that it's supposed to be wielded, and you taking that oath to do it, they might not necessarily have the will to be able to go ahead and do that. They were more so kind of coming in to go ahead and help the elderly woman, or holler at the cat, getting down the tree, going ahead and potentially helping a domestic dispute where you might not, just kind of low level stuff until finally they shit gets real, and it gets real quick.
That comes up a lot when people like to for the fact that you wear the uniform, you enforce gun control. And I'm like, I don't know where people got this understanding that the police's only job was to enforce gun control. And a lot of people seem to forget, like, this is New York City we're talking about. By majority population, these are people that vote for politicians that put gun control in. So it's not like these people that say that, they're like inserting themselves into my AO, and it's like, nah, dude, I'm not coming to sniff and like look over your shoulder at the range and like bag you up for some shit that you own.
Where's your SPR serial number?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not like, we don't preoccupy ourselves with that, wannabe ATF bullshit.
You got 30 days till that shit's illegal.
Yeah, right. But like,
and I'll be there.
The one thing I say is, like, you guys know that, like, there's a ton of other shit that police do and take care of that has nothing to do with guns, but everything to do with helping people. And a lot of people are drawn to the profession because they want to help people. And that just, in our community, it's a shame that just, like, everyone seems to forget that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear someone else, like, have the situational awareness, or,
Most definitely.
acknowledge that.
And like it goes out to all the people that I've trained with, man. I got to put all of them on, but man, dude, Mark Smith, Chris Woomer, Chuck Pressburg, fucking Billy Blowers, Steve Fish, all of these dudes. And if I forget anybody, I mean, you guys know who you are. You guys know that I've trained with you. Clint Smith, man, really, that was kind of one of the first, OGs. I mean, he's part of the OG of, like, really kind of getting that into the civilian market, of having that mindset, man. And it's funny, we're all talking about, long hair coming into here, and this boy's just, he's working on his growth. He's working on his growth. But it was funny. I got a picture with Clint, because Clint's, he's old school, man.
High and tight,
still has
Marine
the Marine
Corps.
But I got a picture with him. He's like, "Yo, man, let me some of that. Let me some of that flow." So I got a picture of myself with him on that. But to the point, that mindset thing, all of those guys that I went ahead and mentioned, Kyle DeFore, their mindset piece that they integrate is so tuned and ingrained into their curriculum that it's just, I have so much love for that, because, like, that is what it comes down to. I mean, the mindset of you going ahead, pulling your gun out as a civilian, and literally going to work, like, I mean, right then and there, you're brandishing in some states.
Yeah,
that's a fucking felony.
That's a life-changing
And so you better know your shit. You know what I mean? And so it's all of these guys, man. And I mean, you've trained with them. You have them out at the ranch, as well as BTO is what I meant. That ranch, and going ahead, and Scott Jelinski. You and I took the course with Chucky P on that one, man. And like, dude, like, these guys dial it down, dude.
Those
I mean,
guys make a great pair.
it's fucking unbelievable, man. Like, they're two sides of the coin, but it's a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
It's just like an Oreo, man. You can't have that black, rich, nice, yummy cookie without the cream filling in the inside, man.
Yeah,
Like,
nobody wants just
no
the
one's just gonna be like,
cookie.
I'm gonna go to Oreo. I mean, the little kids, we got kids. They love the inside stuff,
Oh, yeah.
man. You know what I'm saying?
I love
But,
the inside.
oh,
What are you
who
talking about?
doesn't? Who doesn't?
right.
You know what I mean?
Devil's advocate here. Nestle does sell, like, just the chocolate wafers. That shit is dangerous.
It's true, though.
Shit
It is true. It is
dangerous.
true. It is true. It has come down to a point where they finally said, yeah, we can do all that. But why?
Can you buy just the cream?
What?
Can you buy just the cream?
I don't know,
No,
man. Probably in, like, a little paste.
Probably on
Maybe do a
Amazon.
little Dunker.
I would.
Yeah.
You remember, like, do you remember Dunkaroos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like Dunkaroos back in the day, man.
Did I walk to the gas station the other day? They had Dunkaroos.
No, they did not.
I swear to
Yeah,
God.
I have
Get
all over
out
the
of
place.
town,
Guess,
man.
guess
Hell
who
yeah.
bought some Dunkaroos and ate them on my way to work?
Oh, you fucking better
Ian
have.
did.
You better have. So, I mean, it's fantastic, just being able, being a part of this crew, being that relationship. Like, dude, honestly, great. Like, I appreciate you, Ike, so much for having me on today, as well as just,
Yeah, thanks for coming, dude.
yeah, dude. Like, I mean, the conversations, I mean, like, when I first started out, man, like, this is what BTO is about. This is what the company that you built. And, like, when I first got started, you and I were on, like, an hour conversation about kind of whom I should talk about, how it is that you kind of really started from the garage to get to the platform to where you're at, dude. And I've had nothing. And we kind of tied this in, yesterday or the first day when we had dinner together, was that, like, dude, we're all part of the same industry, and the bullshit that I've heard. Again, I'm not partaking of that, but it's like, if we are a cohesive unit, we're gonna be able to fight all that garbage that's trying to take away the things from the side of it being on the forums, from the side of it being, within industry people, different companies, man. Like, everybody that comes to me that I go ahead and I sell complete guns. I'm like, yo, go to Big Techs. Those, like, dude, they got everything. Like, they're like, oh, man, like, what type of optics should I go ahead and put on? I'm like, well, you know what, I like Holosons because I like a green dot. If Trijicon made a green dot, Trijicon, make a green dot, please. SRO, please do that. just for me.
I know that. Don't they make a green dot
Don't
RMR?
they?
They do on the they do on the RMR, but not for an SRO. Which
talk with them
which
for you.
which would be dope. But I mean, dude, the SRR with a red dot ain't
Paul,
no
can
thing.
you talk to some people?
I'll go
I'm
back
biased.
over there.
I'm biased on
Like,
that.
by the
But
by.
you know, like it's again for me. I love being able to go ahead and vet other companies that I've actually talked with their owners and got to like know them, like Tag from Chris from Tag Firearms. Good dude, man. When I first was getting started, was talking with him. He's from North Dakota. Again, I'm from Midwest. I'm from Minnesota. I'm strictly e-commerce. So, but you know, and then you know, hearing Ellis Dub talking about rooftop defense, and you know, you having a good, you know, relationship with him as well, and
Solomon's good people.
yeah, man, like just good people that really want to go ahead, and you know, when everything happened with their shop going up, and you know, like him really like kind of putting it out there, like, yo, this could be it. Literally, he was up and running in like 30 days because of the love from the community and what it is that he gave out and the genuineness. And I just think, you know, people just need to set their bullshit aside and understand that, like, we're all here for the same reasons, and that is to go ahead and get other people that are American citizens the knowledge that they need to go ahead and rep that 2A right there, dude.
Josh says that all the time at the warehouse.
Like, you know what I mean? Like again, I know you guys had a topic about this, but like, you know, we all homies, man. And if you're not, man, like get off your high horse and go fuck yourself, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's life. That's all that. I mean, that cliche. Life's too short, man. I'm telling you right now, from 25 to 55, that's your jam, dude. That's your jam. You're doing your best fucking. You're doing your best, you know, living. You're doing all of that stuff. I mean, like you're in your primo, man. You know, my dad always says, man, 20s you learn, 30s you earn, and from that, 40s and 50s is just kind of a continuation of your 30s and your 20s, and you just become more knowledgeable. And it's just like, man, like we're not here for that long. Just tap into those
I'm
relationships.
35 now.
Love
like,
it.
when I first got in my 30s, people were like, "Oh no, how's it feel?" I'm like, "You know what your 30s feel like? It feels like New Game Plus, where you're just going through your 20s again, but you have all your skills left over
Yeah.
from the first run.
You got
through.
all the cheats.
Yeah.
You know, you're on a fucking game in there.
You got all the good guns unlocked
Yeah,
and shit
yeah.
like that. It's like your 20s. You just have better answers because you remember from the first time.
You have
fucked up.
slightly more money because you
Yeah.
actually have an adult job and you're
No,
like,
Yeah.
exactly.
That too.
No, man, you're not eating fucking ramen noodles and you know sleeping on the
Although
couch. And
in terms of budget, we were talking about budget before. Shout out to Mike and Kyle at Sons because you guys just put up that alpha gun that they
Yeah.
put out, that 1099 shit.
Yep.
And I was looking at it and I was like, Jim Davis. I was like, yo, Jim, what is the difference between the? And he told me, and I was like, there's nothing functionally lacking from this gun. Like,
No.
this is
No,
great.
there's a
Yeah.
few nice to haves that aren't on there.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you take that is a solid fucking fighting gun.
Absolutely. I was like, yes, this is somebody. What's his name? David Lai. He's in the audience. He's in the crowd in the Facebook group. He approached me while I was at TNVC, and oh no, it wasn't David. It was somebody at the TNVC booth, and he said, "Hey man, I was asking you one time about like what's a good, you know, choice of gun to situate people with in terms of loaners. Like, should I buy a bunch of PSAs?" And I was like, actually. Big Tex has this shit. You could like stack 3 of these and put them in storage or whatever you want to do. And I showed him that Sun's gun. So made you a couple sales there. Got you good. Your advertising dollars hard at work.
Yeah.
nah, if you don't know BTO, man, you guys, you
Then
ain't,
fuck
you ain't doing anything right, man. This squad is tried and true. I've said that from the beginning, man. Y'all are just nothing but love, and everybody that I've fucking connected with in the industry has nothing but wonderful things to say about you
Thank
and you. And you know, like it's just it's fantastic of what it is that you've been able to compile. You know, you and Maddie and you know those kids, man, and just you know seeing things just grow. It's just it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing to be in this room with all these guys. You know, it's a blessing to be here just another day. And it's fun, dude. This industry is as fucking cool as you want to go ahead and rock it, man. You know, you can straight up Stifler this motherfucker. You know, rock
Yeah,
out,
man.
cock out all fucking day, dude.
I was saying to Sam last night. Sam was asking me, he's like, "How's your show been so far?" I was like, I'll never understand why industry people complain about SHOT Shows.
Oh,
as much
yeah.
as they do. Like, I get like the walking and talking wears on you. Like my feet were killing me when I got up here, but I said to Sam, I was like, I feel like I'm with family for the whole week. I could just like, figuratively speaking, let my hair down and just chill because
It's camp, man.
I'm with the
You got
gang.
everybody in the same in the same
Yeah.
house.
I mean, that's why I like
It's
taking
all gang. So yeah.
taking classes is like I'm not a golf player, but like you take a 2 or 3 day class and you're with your friends doing the same it's camp. It's you're learning, but you're having a good time. Like it's work. You're in the sun. You're fucking tired at the end of the day, but like. What do you go do? You go out to dinner afterwards, or you make dinner, and then you go
that
to
camaraderie,
bed.
man, that brotherhood. And again, like I said this too, like to people, you're on the line with people with deadly weapons, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like depending on what course you're taking. I mean, you're doing VTAC stuff, running back and forth, safe on, high ready, low ready, and you're doing interchanging type of stuff. And you go ahead and you do that training. Like I think Woomer says this best, man. Like you're not the most important motherfucker on the line. And everybody has somebody that cares about them. And at the end of the day, after a 2-day, 1-day, 3-day course, everybody's safe. Nobody's got pulled off. Like you see that person next, you're just like, dude, like we were rolling with swords, fucking bullets going just fast as shit. And we were safe. We had fun, had some good laughs.
Hopefully learn something.
Yeah, hopefully learn something.
Hopefully.
I don't go there to learn anything other than just be there with the homies.
Well, man, thank you guys so much for coming on. We really appreciate having y'all.
Yeah,
thanks
man.
for having me.
No, thanks so much for having me.
It's nice
Man.
being able to sit down and just kind of talk, and kind of just hang out with you guys.
Yeah, man.
I've been knowing you for a while, knowing you for a couple of years now, so it's nice. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
Northstar Firearms. And then
Northstar Tactical.
Northstar Tactical. Sorry.
Yep.
Hit him up, and then TASKER, Light Fighter, Tactics and Applications.
Task Network.
Yeah, covers everything.
Yeah.
But we appreciate y'all watching. We really do. Like it means a lot that y'all will spend an hour just listening to us ramble on and stuff.
Yeah. Shout out
enjoy it,
BTO.
but the fact that y'all enjoy it too is pretty cool, I think. But we really appreciate you once again, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
Stay safe.
Yee.
Oh yeah.